Hello. I'd like to just compliment you on your red shoes.
I would like to compliment you back on your red shoes.
That's the theme of the day.
Yes.
Yours are actually boots, and mine are actually kinky. So
There we go.
between the two of us,
We've made it
covered
happen.
the theme.
Hi, y'all.
This
You guys look
house
so great.
is packed today.
I love it. I love it. And they are all dressed so cute. And I recognize so many of them. Hi, y'all.
Well, you have such a devoted fan base, your toddlers, as you call them, toddlers with a Z.
Yes.
And I was at the Al Hirschfeld Theater to see you starring in Kinky Boots this weekend, and that theater was full of your fans.
So amazing. I'm blown away every single time I go to the stage door and I see how many of the toddlers have come out and supported the show, because the tickets they're not crazy expensive, but you know, I'm just so grateful that people are spending their hard-earned money to come and watch the show and support me.
Well, you have known for a long time that you have a large fan base because of that YouTube channel, which has how many millions of views?
Close to 400 million.
Woo! That's almost 500 million.
I know, it's insane to think about that.
Wow. But I bet it feels different when you're looking out in a theater and seeing actual faces as opposed to just numbers clicking up on the videos.
Yeah, it definitely feels different. Even when you post a picture on Instagram and you see like 20, 30, 40,000 people like a picture, you're just kind of like, okay, whatever, it's a number. But then, I mean, if you were to sit in a room with 20,000 people, you would be like, this is an insane amount of people. So I'm just so grateful that I'm in a position where I'm able to like reach out and affect that many people's lives. But more importantly, I get to talk to them and get to know them and like know them by name and recognize their face and see them on the street and say, hey girl, you know, like it's like I have friends all over the country. I'll never go somewhere where I don't have friends. So I love that.
I bet that feels great.
Yeah.
I also know that you're still in touch with some of your friends from childhood. Some of them are actually on Broadway.
Yes.
J. Armstrong Johnson, who appeared in your
Yes.
Straight Outta Oz video,
Yeah.
is a Broadway star, and you've been performing with him. And when I think about what I know of your childhood, there's a story about how you first got into dance class that I love. Who did the work to get you into that class?
Me? Is that the story you know?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, I don't know, I have to keep my story straight in the streets. When I was very young, I think I was like 8 years old, I wanted to dance, and so I looked in the phone book and I looked up this dance studio, and it was called Tip Tap Toes, which is the cutest name. I don't care where you're from. That's the cutest name of any dance studio in America. And I was like, I really want to take dance class, and I signed myself up and gave it to my mom, and thankfully she was into it and took me, and the rest is history.
From what I know of you, hard work has always been a value. It doesn't even seem like, from the lore that I have heard, like you really had to cultivate that. There was something about working for what you wanted that was ingrained in you from the time that you were born. I had not heard of many 8-year-olds who look up the dance studio in the phone book and sign themselves up.
Yeah, well, it was one of those things where I've always just had the mentality that if you want it done and if someone is not there to do it for you, then the only other logical option to me was to go make it happen yourself. But I definitely am a huge advocate for people who work hard, and I admire people who work super hard and who are super professional, which is why I'm such a humongous Beyonce fan. But I also don't look at it as work. I feel like what I do is like, this is the only thing that I love to do every day, is getting up, meeting new people, performing, getting to share this story. Being in Kinky Boots is such a blessing because I didn't realize how much of a parallel this character Lola/Simon is to my real life. And so I just got off tour doing Straight Outta Oz, which is the story of my life, and now I'm doing Kinky Boots. So I feel like I'm getting to tell the story of my life as well on stage on Broadway, which was always my dream as a child. So it's a really cool blessing, and I'm so thankful and grateful every day that I'm given this platform to perform on.
Well, I, as a Broadway fan, and I'm going to speak on behalf of all Broadway fans, I'm just going to take that liberty right now. I am so grateful that you were on Broadway in Kinky Boots. I've seen this show quite a few times, 7 or 8 times since it opened.
Wow.
I've seen multiple actors play Lola, and they've all been fantastic. But there is something about you in this role that blew me out of the water. I really feel like it could have been written for you. And it's like every note you sing feels like it was written for your voice. The eye makeup, like your eyes were made for those lashes.
Thank you.
And you strut that stage in those boots. I mean,
Stop.
I could go on forever. I won't, but I could.
Thank you.
Superlatives are so easy sometimes to just be like, it's the greatest. But it really is an exceptional performance, and I'm very, very glad that I got the chance to see it, and I'm excited that you're going to be around for a few more months so that so many other people will have a chance to see you in the show as well.
Well, I have to say that means so much to me. I just completed my first week, and Broadway is so difficult. I have so much respect. I was in the ensemble of a few Broadway shows before this, and the wear and tear that it did on my body and stuff, I've always had such a massive respect for everybody who does Broadway. And now to step into a lead role and to have to be like every single note, I can't drop out anything. I have to make sure that I'm on the entire time, because I never want to give like an 80% performance. I want to give 100% of what I have to every single show. And so it just means a lot to me that you were there on a matinee and that was what you walked away with from the show. And yeah, I really appreciate that. So thank you.
It's my pleasure. Now, you've been on Broadway. You know how hard it is. Now you're doing it backwards and in heels.
Yes, exactly.
And I actually saw you in the ensemble of The Color Purple.
Really?
Way back in 2005 or 6?
2007.
Okay, 2007.
That's when I was in the show.
And you were in the show with Fantasia.
Yes.
And she was coming off of American Idol, and she inspired you to go that route and audition as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is a fun fact about me that I don't know that I've ever said, but I am terrified of singing. Like, my friends or people that I've dated are always like, you never sing. And I'm like, no. Like, if you're my friend and you hang out with me, you would never, ever, ever, like Chester, my best friend, is back there, and he can attest to this. I will hum along to a Beyonce song all day, but I would never be that person that would just be sitting around belting I Will Always Love You for no reason in my shower. It's not going to happen. And so... So for me to do this, if you were to ask me, like, sing Happy Birthday, I would start sweating, or like I would get...
Should we try it?
No, no. But it's something about like being on stage when I get to become another character or something. I love doing that because I'm telling a story, and at that point, it's no longer myself singing, but... I was terrified, and my whole life growing up, people would say, Todrick, you're a dancer, or you're a great dancer, but people would be like, he can kind of sing. And so I never was confident in my voice, and Fantasia heard me singing backstage, just like humming one of the songs from the show, and she was like, boy, you can sing, you know, like with her raspy voice. And so she inspired me to go and audition, and I went there more so to prove to myself that even if I made it to Hollywood, then that would mean that people would look at me as a legitimate singer and not as a dancer who can sing, but someone who can sing. So I'm still constantly proving that to myself, and I'm just like every other human who's super insecure and stuff. And so it means a lot to me for you to say that, and it's really awesome that I have this role where now I also was very insecure about acting, and now I'm doing a role where I'm having to act and sing on stage every single night, and it's a humongous stretch for me, but I'm just so excited and so grateful, and I want to live in the moment, because there have been so many times, and we should all do this, that I'm stuck behind my phone and I'm taking pictures, and then 4 or 6 months later or a year later, I look back and I'm like, that was such a cool opportunity, and I didn't even realize how cool it was. So this year on my vision board, I was like, live in the moment. I don't want to look back at this a couple years from now and say, wow, I was a star on Broadway. That's such a crazy thing to say, and I want to feel like that now. So I want to take every single opportunity and meet every single fan at the stage door every night, and just like really be grateful for this opportunity, because it could be gone in an instant. And I'm so like blessed that the producers and that Broadway has accepted me and embraced me, and the cast is amazing, and I'm just having the time of my life.
You can tell watching from the audience. How long ago did you start talking to the folks from Kinky Boots, and did they approach you? Was it seeing you on MTV? Was it your YouTube videos?
I think it was Straight Out of Oz that did it. Some of the producers of Kinky Boots saw the Straight Out of Oz visual album and wanted to talk to me about possibly pursuing other things with that show. And then they said, we actually have this role on Broadway, and we think that you would be great in it. And they just offered it to me, which was also the reason why I felt so much pressure, because I didn't actually come in and audition for the role. They said, we think you'd be perfect for it. And had they made me audition, I probably wouldn't have come in, because I would have been, not because I think that I'm I'm above auditioning, but I would have been terrified at the idea of not getting it, or would I be right for it? And they clearly saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And so when I got here, I felt like I had so much to prove. But I worked really hard, and the choreographer and the assistant associate director and everybody was so sweet and took the time with me. And for 3 weeks, I did nothing but just digest Kinky Boots every single line and work on the dialect and learn how to walk in heels better, because I've walked in heels, but the cheap heels from Hollywood Boulevard. These are like the serious, like Sasha Fierce 2011 heels, you know, like when she first started floating across the audience in those heels that were like stilts. You guys remember that moment? That's what these are in the show.
Do you write into your contract that you get to keep any of the shoes? You did? I totally would have done that too. That's why I asked.
Yes. There's no way I can't keep these. My mom would kill me. I have somehow managed to get away. I don't know if I should say this, but with a costume from every single Broadway show. I have my entire costume from The Color Purple, an entire costume from Memphis, and so there's no way I wasn't going to take a costume from Kinky
Do you know which one it's going to be?
Well, I haven't gotten a costume yet, but the heels is enough. It's plenty.
Oh my gosh, the red
ones,
like
yeah,
thigh-high boots.
And I'll let you borrow them anytime you want.
You know what? As we know from these shoes, I can squeeze in no matter what size they are. Yours will be too big.
She's such a trooper. She was like, these shoes were one size too small, but there's a beauty knows no pain. And I appreciate you. Doesn't she look amazing?
Oh.
It's not even a question.
I was afraid that I was going to fall just walking. You're going to have to hold my hand walking.
But you would have looked fierce on the ground. I would have just posed on the ground.
Look, art is about risk-taking.
Exactly.
And actually, I'm surprised to hear you say that you had nerves or that you were afraid or that you wouldn't have auditioned for this role, because from everything I know of you, and I've been following you on Twitter since 2009, 2010, back when you were Toddy Rockstar instead of at Todrick, you have always projected this air of fearlessness. And I guess it's a testament to how hard you're working that you keep doing it even though you're afraid.
Yeah, I don't purposely try to perpetrate and put this thing on and make people think that I'm more fearless than I am. I'm like noticeably, like, my friends will all tell you I'm super nervous every time I take the stage, but it's because I care so much and because I grew up in such a small town in Texas that everything holds so much weight for me. I like really value this and really appreciate it, and I want people that are huge Broadway fans to come and say, you know what, he deserved that role. I don't want them to say he got it because he has views on YouTube. And I want to do Billy Porter justice and Cyndi Lauper justice, Jerry Mitchell, Harvey Fierstein, all these people who are Broadway legends and icons who have like paved the way for this, and RuPaul, who is now my mentor and my fairy drag mother, and so, and I just want them to be proud. So I'm very, very hard on myself, and I think it just shows that what you see online sometimes is not actually what the person is really like. And that's another thing I want to do better at. I've done over 300 videos, but a lot of them are not videos where I'm like really being myself. I'm playing characters because that's my like safety zone. When I have to just like stand there in like a t-shirt and jeans, which I would never wear, but if I did, like being vulnerable is like something that scares me. If someone says stand on stage with a microphone and with just one light and sing, that's like a fear of mine. But this year in 2017, I'm gonna really try to like tackle that, because I believe that God has given me a gift, and I should exercise it and practice and face my fear. And some people are scared of jumping out of planes and spiders and snakes. And this video that came on on my timeline today with the black iguanas and the snakes. Have y'all seen that?
It's crazy.
It is a nightmare. It will haunt you, but it's really interesting. And I was like, run, run. Like, I was up this morning at 8 a.m. being like, run, vote for Hillary, run. Like, I wanted this, yeah.
Election day.
I wanted this iguana to survive so bad, like if my life depended on it. And when the snakes were coming after him, I felt like it was gonna be like me reliving Mufasa dying or something. I was like, I can't take it. I can't take it.
Yeah, the natural world is crazy.
I know.
Let's talk about Election Day, since you mentioned it. One of your videos on YouTube, you partnered with Hillary Clinton's campaign, and you responded in person to a fan of yours who sent you a video saying, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to vote. And you were like, well, I could tweet her back and say, you really should vote, but what if I just went and made an entire flash mob video specifically for her to convince her to vote?
Yeah.
And what I learned in that video is that you had never voted before.
Never.
But you voted this time.
I voted this time. I voted. I didn't vote when the Obama thing was happening because I was on a cruise ship and I should have like done everything I could to vote, but at that time I didn't realize how important it was. But now, more than ever, I just feel like this morning I got up and wrote this long status on my personal Facebook because I feel like with this job, my mom always said growing up, to whom much is given, much is required. And I feel like when you are in a situation where you've been blessed to have the voice to be able to reach millions of people, you should use that for the greater good of the world. And I felt like it's like my duty to use this gift that I've been given, even though I might not have 90 million people following me. 2.3 million people is nothing shabby to look at, and 400 million views mean something. And so I really wanted to make sure that she knew that it was so important. And this election, this is the first time I've read that the millennials outweigh the non-millennials in our country. And so if all of the people who are young are going out and voting, and the people, who we sometimes forget, the people who have paved the way for us, that fought so hard so that we could even have this right, and for us to not exercise it, it's just kind of, it's sad. And so I want to do everything in my power to encourage people to vote, because 4 years ago and 8 years ago, I was that person that said my vote doesn't really matter. I'm not going to work that hard to vote. So this year I voted, and
hopefully you convinced a lot of other people to vote too. And just while we're on the subject, the polls are still open for several hours. So if you weren't inspired before, maybe you'll get inspired right now.
Run there and vote, because it's very, very, very important.
Yeah. I had Oak from Hamilton here yesterday, and he also is a first-time voter this election, and he said, it might be annoying, it might be inconvenient, it might be hard, but most important things in life are. So do it anyway, and do it with a smile on your face. Do it proudly.
Preach.
Yeah.
I'm with him also. Whoever said that.
All right, so you're on Broadway.
Yes.
You've got more than 400 videos on YouTube and almost 500 million views.
Yes.
Have you put the videos on hold while you're doing 8 shows a week on Broadway?
For now, I have. I want to start trying to figure out a way to still do videos and do Broadway at the same time, but 8 shows a week is very difficult. This week we did 9 shows in a row because we were off today for the election, which I'm so grateful for, but it's very difficult for you to be able to, the videos that I'm accustomed to doing require so much effort and energy, and I don't know that it's possible for me to do that at the same time.
Sure.
But baby, where there's a will, there's a way. So I'm gonna find some way to squeeze in some videos so the toddlers don't have to wait for 4 months. But the second I finish going through puberty, excuse me. The second I'm done with the show, I'll be back on my YouTube game, and I want to go on tour again next summer because a lot of the states didn't get to see Straight Out of Oz, and that story is so important to me. So I'm going back on tour next summer with Straight Out of Oz again, and so please check todrickhall.com if you haven't already, and if you haven't seen the show, come see it. And if you've seen it, come see it again, because we're gonna have new costumes with a lot more rhinestones on them this year.
Well, I want to loop back around to something that you just sort of threw out there and we breezed past, which was that you started talking to the producers of Kinky Boots because they were interested in doing something with Straight Out of Oz.
Yes.
Can we dig into that? Is there a possibility that this might become its own Broadway show?
I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not, but I guess until they say no, I can say whatever I want, right? This is America. I just voted. There are a few Broadway producers that are interested in bringing Straight Out of Oz, or discussing or discovering what Straight Out of Oz would look like on Broadway. I wrote it inspired by Hamilton, inspired by Disney's Zootopia, and inspired by Beyonce's Lemonade, which if you haven't seen all 3 of those things, wake up, vote, watch those things after you watch The Black Iguana. And
The Wizard of Oz was part of that inspiration as well.
Exactly, yeah, huge part of that inspiration. But The Wizard of Oz is like my everyday life. My whole arm is dedicated to The Wizard of Oz. I have a huge Wizard of Oz tattoo, and it says Made in Oz. I have a patch on the back of my neck that says that. But I wanted to tell the story of my life paralleled with The Wizard of Oz, and I think it's such a great story, The Wizard of Oz, just in general, and the whole overall meaning of it is because a lot of times, even in my own life, I've gone searching for things that I already had. Like, I kept asking for permission to do things. And I feel like that's what Dorothy was doing. And the Scarecrow didn't really need the wizard to give him a brain or whatever. They already had these things, but they were waiting for this wizard to give them something that he couldn't really give them to begin with. And so that's what my whole story is about. And if this comes to Broadway, I would be the happiest person in the world, because I just think it's a story that it's very inspiring. It's a story of a mother's love for her child. I grew up in a very conservative family who was not supportive of my lifestyle, but they've come around and they've loved me regardless of everything, and they support me and everything. My mom was there for 3 shows of Kinky Boots this week, and I don't know. And so, yeah, there is a huge possibility that it will be coming to some theater, Broadway or off Broadway, but either way, you got to wear those shoes when you come see the show.
I will be first in line.
Thank you.
We've got time for some questions from the audience. I know
Awesome.
your toddlers have things they want to know.
Awesome.
Hey, Todrick.
Hey, boo.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being so cute up there.
Oh, stop. So you've done so many amazing projects and collaborations. My favorite would have to be the Virgin America TSA safety video, which if people haven't seen it, you have to see it. It's amazing because it's such a game changer. What was that experience like? How did you get involved with Virgin America? Did they contact you? How did that come to be?
Well, my manager at the time reached out to me and said, we've been trying to crack this code, and they've been trying to find a writer to write this song for Virgin America, and it has to be about the flotation devices and the oxygen masks and all of those things. And they were reaching out to people who write songs for Rihanna, Chris Brown, Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, the top writers in the industry, and they couldn't crack the code. And at the very last minute, he was like, well, I have a client who writes songs about McDonald's menus, so if he can write a song about the fast food drive-through, then of course he could maybe write a song about this. And basically I had to audition. I wrote the first half, and I only had an hour to write it. I wrote it in the shower, and I was like, I don't know if I necessarily feel safe, but this song is kind of like it to me. And so, and we sent it in, and I got the job, and it was really, really cool. I didn't realize how big of an opportunity it was until every single day after it came out, I would get all of these pictures of people taking pictures saying, I'm watching you on Virgin America. And I was like, shouldn't you be on airplane mode? But they were they were sending me all of these videos. And then I started noticing when I went to other airlines that they were kind of copying what we did. And I think at the end of the day, as long as people are safe and they're processing the information, then our job was done really well. But I'm so proud of that. That's one of the things I'm the most proud of. So I'm glad you like it.
Is the shower your go-to writing place?
Yes!
Because I remember in your first American Idol audition, you were like, oh, I was just thinking about American Idol in the shower, and I wrote this song.
The shower is I wrote most of my songs, the ones that people like, I wrote those all in the shower. And yeah, for some reason, it's just the place that I feel the most at home. I mean, I'm naked, so,
Letting it all hang out.
Exactly.
both physically and artistically. Do we have another question?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. One, thank you for being such an inspiration. Your visual album was beyond beautiful, and I actually saw Straight Out of Oz in Boston, so yeah, it was magical.
Well, thank you for coming.
Yeah. So I wanted to. I was very interested in. Well, what kept you motivated throughout the years? Because obviously there was a lot of before you actually got to this position that you are now. And secondly, what do you do to pretty much stay humble? Because I know there must be moments where you're like, oh my God, yeah, this is awesome, but gotta stay back grounded.
Well, first of all, I have the most amazing friends in the world. And my friends and my mom keep me super humble because they're always just like, this is such an awesome experience, an awesome opportunity, and I don't take anything for granted. I think the difference is between me and a lot of people is that I had to work so hard for every single one of those views. I didn't get the views because little girls want to date me or they think that whatever. I mean, maybe sometimes, and But there are certain people that can just upload a video, and just because they look like Justin Bieber, they'll get millions and millions of views. That wasn't the case with me. I had to work really, really, really hard, and I had to eat ramen noodles, and my car got repossessed, and I mean things that are not things that I was proud of sharing at the time. But I believed in this so much that I gave every single thing that I have. So when somebody comes up to me and says, "I really like your work," it means a lot to me. Like, I get emotional because I spent so much time. I remember every single moment where I was standing there looking at a blank sheet of paper to write every lyric to those songs, and I choreographed all those dances, and I went to the costume shop. I didn't send a stylist there. I pushed a ladder around and climbed up and learned how to navigate myself through every costume house in Hollywood to be able to, do what I need to do. And we didn't go to film school. My friends and I had to learn how to edit videos and how to direct videos, and why does this not look good? Oh, it's the lighting. So when someone comes and says, we appreciate what you've done and that they love that video, it has a special place in my heart. And so I think that my friends keep me humble, and my fans who have come to me and said, I don't know anybody who looks like me or who talks the language I speak, that is on YouTube or on television. You're the person that I go to. It changes, it just has changed my life to meet people who are taking their LGBTQ kids to come and see a show and saying, I've never seen anything like this, and thank you for inspiring my kid and being a positive role model and influence for my child. That keeps me going, and every single day I'm pushing to be a better artist and to try new things and to expand my own experiences and just try to be as good a role model, and to avoid the haters also helped me out a lot. When I see hate, I used to respond to it, and now when people tell me that I can't do something, or they say that I'm not talented, or they say things, it just makes me be like, well, now I'm gonna try harder. And I wanna be on your timeline so much that you can't avoid seeing me right next to the black iguana. That's all I'm saying.
We have time for one more question.
Okay.
Hey, Todrick, how are you?
Hi, boo.
I want to start with saying how an inspiration you are to us and everyone else in this room. I was there for opening night for you, and you were beyond incredible.
Thank you.
So now, since it's been a week since opening night, what was your favorite memory from first show to today?
My favorite memory, well, Thursday and Friday night were really special to me because I felt like, I mean, I don't know, every single night has been an incredible memory. Just getting to see my mom in the audience and watching her just like, truly embrace this. We're not a theater family. My mom had never seen a Broadway show before I started doing this. She'd never been to Disney World. She'd never really flown on a plane before. And so for my mom to get to come and watch this show and come backstage, and I think, actually, I know what the moment was. My mom is the biggest fan of RuPaul in the entire world. My mom has not asked me to meet Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, any of my famous friends. She just wanted to meet RuPaul so bad. And RuPaul going to my mom and saying, Brenda, like he knew her name, and giving her the biggest hug. And just to watch my mom come full circle from being a parent that didn't understand this lifestyle to like loving and idolizing someone who is such a humongous role model and game changer. I think RuPaul has created an avenue for shows like Kinky Boots to be on Broadway, for middle America to come and watch a show about an African-American drag queen and fall in love with him. And the fact that he is African-American and gay and fabulous is a non-factor, and it's not even an important factor of why the musical is so great. It's just a beautiful, touching story, and I just feel like watching that and watching my mom come there, and now she would have never dreamed that her son would be dancing on stage in heels. That would have not probably been her ideal image of what I should be. She would have probably wanted me to be playing basketball in the NBA. Not gonna happen. So, but I'm strutting around on stage, and to see my mom's eyes out there and see her crying and see how proud she is of her son that's on stage changing lives in a much different way than she had imagined is really, truly probably the best feeling in the world.
I love that so much because it's so similar to the story of Simon from Clacton,
Yes.
who becomes Lola, the
Yes.
star of Kinky Boots. You are perfect in that role.
Thank you.
And I wish that you were going to be in it for years and years, but I'll just have to come back a few more times before the middle of March when
You should.
when you move on. And I'll look forward to seeing you on Broadway in other things, perhaps even
Yes.
things of your own composition.
Amen.
And
Let's claim it.
Let's
in
do
these
it.
streets.
Let's do it. While we're at it, let's remind everybody to go out and vote one more time.
Go out and vote, people. It is so important. It is your duty as an American.
Todrick, I love you. Thank you so much for being here. And come back again soon, please.
Thank you. You're so sweet. I think we're going to be best friends.
I I agree. Let's
I'm
do
following you back on Instagram and Twitter right now, and it's going to be a BFF situation. You have no
Amazing.
choice. We're
It's
going to go
at-
shoe shopping
it.
together
At Broadway Girl NYC.
at Broadway Girl
And
NYC.
at Todrick. And at Build Series NYC. And at Kinky Boots Broadway.
Yeah, go see Kinky Boots. If you haven't seen Kinky Boots, you have to go and see it. It's such a beautiful story, and the energy in that room every night is just completely amazing, and you just have to see it. People sometimes think that this show is a show for a certain type of audience, and it's absolutely not.
There's
It's
so
a
many
show.
families there.
So many families, so many kids that are just looking up, being like, "Wow, I want to be a drag queen!" And it's just such a beautiful story about love and relationships. And if you haven't seen it, you have to go see it.
On that note, Todrick Hall, you are a star.
Thank you.